One of the saddest things that can happen to a species is extinction. From the dinosaurs to the Ice Age giants, history has shown that once a species is gone, it's usually gone for good. That is, unless you're talking about the animals on this list who stared extinction in the face and said, "Not today." Against all odds, these creatures made an unbelievable comeback, from ghost birds that vanished for 300 years to singing dogs and tortoises thriving on volcanic islands. Here are 10 animals that came back from extinction. Starting off with one of the craziest mysteries to date. The Celacanth rediscovery was one that had everyone questioning reality. We're talking about a fish so ancient, it swam with the dinosaurs, and much like the giant lizards who ruled the earth, seemingly vanished without a trace roughly 66 million years ago. For decades, the coelacanth was only known from fossils, leading scientists to believe it had gone extinct. At least they believed so until 1983, when the fish pulled an Uno reverse card on all of us and made a comeback. But how though? Well, it was all thanks to a woman named Marjorie Courtney Latimer, a museum curator with a keen eye for the miraculous. See, when a local fisherman hauled in a strange-looking fish, Marjorie immediately knew this was no ordinary catch. Its scales, head plates, and fin formations screamed ancient, and, in every way, reminded her of fossils. And why wouldn't it? This fish was large, about 6 feet long, the size of a refrigerator lying on its side. Unsure of what they had discovered, Marjorie contacted ichthyologist J.L.B. Smith, and a little while later, the coelacanth was confirmed to be the fish everyone thought was extinct. But what made the coelacanth so special, besides the fact it cheated death for more than 66 million years? Well, for starters, it's a living fossil, a relic from a bygone era. Anatomically, it stands out due to its unique hinged skull that allows it to open its mouth really wide to consume large prey. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. See, the coelacanths are nocturnal piscivores, meaning they are the equivalent of fish-eating night owls. Essentially, they drift along currents, snapping up smaller fish and coelapods like squid and cuttlefish. And if that wasn't fascinating enough, these fish also have a special sensory system in their snout to detect electrical elements and a vestigial fat-filled lung that assists with buoyancy. Yes, this fish has a lung. As to where you can find this monstrosity from the past, all you have to do is go deep underwater. These deep-sea dwellers reside in underwater caves during the day, saving energy for their nightly hunts. They can be found in the waters of Indonesia and the Comoro Islands, where the underwater volcanic slopes provide the perfect habitat. Surprisingly, despite their monstrous appearance and all, they are peaceful fish, avoiding contact with others of their kind, and are slow to mature, living up to a century and carrying their young for a whopping 5 years. Now, if you think that was impressive, brace yourselves, because the next one is a Jurassic mashup that not only shouldn't be alive, it shouldn't have existed. Meet the Oceanian Rock Rat, or Leonastis enigmamus, a creature that has quite literally puzzled scientists and captured the imagination of many. See, this small rodent, resembling a cross between a rat and a squirrel, was believed to have vanished from Earth over 11 million years ago. Essentially, this creature was so ancient, finding it was like shaking hands with a ghost from the Miocene epoch. Known as the Carnu by the locals who knew it existed long before scientists caught on. This rodent was quite literally what you should imagine if a squirrel and a rat had a baby in a time machine that sent them back 11 million years. So here's the question, if the locals knew it existed, why did we label it as extinct? Well, that's because this furry creature calls the remote, jagged limestone karsts of central Laos home, an area so rugged. It's like nature's own fortress. This place is a maze of rocky outcrops, dense forests, and hidden caves, which, to be honest, is perfect for staying off the radar. For years, scientists thought its entire family, the Diatomyidae, had checked out millions of years ago, leaving only fossilized clues. That was until 2006, when it reappeared, shocking everyone. But how did we find it? Well, that's where things get really interesting. In 2006, Florida State University professor David Redfield embarked on an expedition that would change everything. After several attempts and with the help of local guides, he finally turned the science community on its head and successfully captured live footage of this elusive creature. David's video showed just why this creature was amazing, as it showcased its distinctive features such as its dense fur, long whiskers, and an unusual duck-like waddle as it navigated its rocky habitat. The sighting not only confirmed the existence of the Oceanian Rock Rat, but also highlighted its unique adaptations for survival in the rugged environment it called home. This remarkable rodent primarily feeds on leaves, grass, seeds, and occasionally insects. It has a nocturnal lifestyle that allowed it to forage under the cover of darkness while evading predators. Sadly, despite its incredible comeback story, the Oceanian Rock Rat faces threats from habitat loss and hunting practices by local communities, and only time will tell if we would need to put our little furry friend back on the extinct list. If you think that's amazing, then hold on, because our next animal went extinct twice. Standing 5 times the size of your average bee, the Wallaces Giant Bee's biggest problem wasn't its size. It was the fact that despite being a bee the size of your thumb and the world's largest bee species, the Wallace bee went extinct. Scientifically named the Megacarp Pluto, this giant was first discovered in 1858 by Alfred Russel Wallace. Fun fact, this was the very same naturalist who independently conceived the theory of evolution alongside Charles Darwin. And much like the man it was named after, this bee quickly became the stuff of legends. With a wingspan of about 2.5 inches or 0.2 feet, it's hard to believe such a massive insect could vanish. Yet, for nearly a century, it did just that. Thought to be extinct, Wallace's giant bee faded into obscurity, becoming more of a mythical creature whispered about in entomology circles. But here's the thing, why did it disappear? Well, as with many extinction cases, it was all our fault. See, the Wallace Giant Bee resides only on a few islands in the North Moluccas, Indonesia, which depends heavily on lowland forests for its survival. Sadly, this was a problem as habitat destruction from agriculture, particularly palm oil plantations, significantly reduced its range. But thankfully, this isn't a sad story, because like a phoenix from the ashes, it was rediscovered in 1981 by Adam C. Messer, an American entomologist. But here's the crazy thing, the bee still managed to get lost again for another 38 long years. In fact, it wasn't until 2019, after almost 4 decades, that a team of biologists and a natural history photographer found a single female Wallace's giant bee clinging to life within a termite nest about 8 feet above the ground. But what was it doing there? To understand this, we have to look at the bee's life cycle, because miracles and plot twists aside, these bees were quite literally a masterclass in the ingenuity of nature. See, these bees have a unique lifestyle where the female Wallace's giant bees nest inside active arboreal termite mounds. While there, they use their large mandibles to collect tree resin, fashioning a protective compartment against invading termites. Sure, they eat nectar and pollen like most bees, but unlike honeybees, they are solitary and do not produce honey for human consumption. Ever since its rediscovery, the Wallace Giant Bee has sparked hope and conservation efforts, but the truth remains that this giant bee remains vulnerable. Ultimately, with no legal protection against trade, this gentle giant still faces threats from collectors. Essentially, the race is on to protect this incredible species and its habitat, ensuring that Wallace's giant bee continues to buzz through the Indonesian forests for generations to come. Now, if you think disappearing for 100 years and returning is a rare feat, then guess again, because our next animal did just that on an island known for volcanic eruptions. Much like Wallace's giant bees, these creatures were so elusive, it was believed to have vanished from the face of the earth completely for over a century. Then, poof, it reappears. I'm talking about the Fernandina Island Giant Tortoise, the Chelanoidus fantasticus. For years, scientists thought this tortoise was as extinct as the dinosaurs, with the only known specimen being a deceased male discovered way back in 1906. Besides there being no sign of the elusive Fernandina Tortoise, the island itself is a volcanic landscape in the Galapagos and was thought to be too harsh for survival. For context, this island has active volcanoes that erupt almost yearly. Scientists basically thought who would want to live there. The answer to this question came as a surprise in 2019, when a team of researchers stumbled upon a living female, Fernanda, shocking everyone and proving that this species had somehow cheated extinction. But what exactly makes the Fernandina tortoise so special? Well, aside from its incredible comeback, these tortoises could grow up to about 3 feet or 90 centimeters long, roughly the size of a large suitcase or a golden retriever. They also weighed around 180 to 220 pounds, or 80 to 100 kilograms, which, by the way, is more or less the same as an average adult human or a fully loaded washing machine. These tortoises also have a unique saddleback shell, a characteristic more pronounced in males. You can think of it as a built-in backpack just for the giant tortoise. But it wasn't just the weird shell that made them so special, because their legs, unlike those of sea turtles, are sturdy and designed for life on land. Despite living in the land of volcanoes, these gentle tortoises spend their days munching on leaves, flowers and fruit, with some even occasionally enjoying animal matter. Much like the Wallace bee, the rediscovery of Fernanda has sparked a race against time. After all, where there's one, there could always be more. Because of this, expeditions to find Fernanda a mate and protect the remaining members of her species were launched. The clock is ticking, especially with that active volcano rumbling in the background. Can we save this fantastic tortoise from disappearing once again? Only time and dedicated conservation efforts will tell. The flying woolly squirrel, scientifically known as Eupetorus cinereus, wasn't just any ordinary rodent. It was a gliding furball about the size of a small terrier, soaring through the forests of the Himalayas. However, for over 70 years, it completely disappeared. So much so that scientists thought it had gone extinct. But what caused this mysterious vanishing act? As you would expect, like many other species, the flying squirrel was a victim of habitat loss, thanks to human activity. However, their story comes with a massive plot twist, as in 1995, two determined researchers made an incredible discovery. They found evidence that the squirrel was still alive, turning what was thought to be a myth back into reality. But how do you track down an animal that's been missing for 7 decades? Well, for starters, this was no easy task, as these squirrels live at extreme elevations between 2,700 and 3,600 meters, or about 8,900 to 11,800 feet up in the Himalayas. Not exactly an easy place to search. Upon further investigation, locals then revealed that they collected the animal's urine as an aphrodisiac, and even offered to provide a live specimen. Just like that, the 70-year search was over and we could study the squirrel again. So, what do we know about the flying woolly squirrel today? Well, for one, this creature is absolutely massive for a squirrel. About 3 feet long from nose to tail, roughly the size of a baseball bat. And unlike your typical nut-crunching squirrel, this one has a bizarre diet consisting mostly of pine needles. Not exactly gourmet dining, but it seems to work for them. Its most fascinating feature, though, is its gliding ability. With a flap of skin stretching from its limbs, it can soar between trees like a flying lemur, effortlessly navigating the steep, rocky cliffs it calls home. Living at such high elevations in the dense Himalayan forests, it's no wonder it managed to stay hidden for so long. Even after its rediscovery, the flying woolly squirrel remains one of the most elusive mammals on the planet. Okay, the flying woolly squirrel was cute and all, but what if I told you that we almost lost a dog who could sing to extinction? Stay tuned to find out more. Okay, after hearing the name, it's easy to think it was put there for clickbait, but it wasn't. This was a dog with a voice so unique, it didn't just bark, it sang. I'm talking about the New Guinea Singing Dog, a breed so special its vocalization sounded like a wolf howl combined with a whale song. For decades, scientists believed these incredible canines had vanished from their native New Guinea, becoming ghosts in the rugged highlands. This was because sightings of these opera dogs became increasingly rare, and by the 1970s, it was assumed they were extinct in the wild. The only remaining members existed in captivity, descended from a mere 8 original dogs. Now, although these dogs were still members of the species, the lack of genetic diversity between them essentially put the entire captive population at risk. Thankfully, this isn't a tale of extinction, it's a story of rediscovery. In 2012, an ecotourism guide snapped a photo of a mysterious dog in the remote mountains of New Guinea. That photo became legend as it reignited the search for the dogs that sang. 4 years later, in 2016, James McIntyre, who'd been searching for the dog since 1996, returned to the area. And after a month of searching, his camera traps revealed 140 photos of a whole pack of dogs, including males, females, and, to the relief of many, pups. To confirm their identity, McIntyre's team returned in 2018 and collected blood samples from 3 wild dogs. The DNA analysis revealed that these Highland wild dogs shared nearly their entire genetic identity with the captive New Guinea singing dogs. Despite some genetic divergence due to physical separation and interbreeding, researchers concluded that they were essentially the same breed. The New Guinea singing dog was not extinct in the wild. They somehow had come back. This rediscovery wasn't just about finding a lost species. It was about preserving a unique piece of evolutionary history. With their distinctive vocalizations and incredible adaptability, New Guinea Singing Dogs offered valuable insights into canine behavior and genetics. So far, their rediscovery has opened new doors for protecting this remarkable creature and learning more about our own vocal learning. The Goblin Shark. Mitsukurina austini isn't your typical shark. It's actually a living fossil, tracing its lineage back roughly 125 million years. For context, that means these sharks are actually older than the T-Rex itself. With a flattened, elongated snout and bizarre protrusible jaws, it looks like something straight out of a prehistoric painting. Averaging 10 to 13 feet long, though some have reached almost 20. Encountering one of these sharks is like glimpsing into an ancient world. In fact, for a long time, many believed you couldn't meet with these sharks, believing they had vanished and faded into the annals of extinct creatures. Why? Well, it's all because goblin sharks live deep, really deep in the ocean, between 3,300 and 9,800 feet below the surface. In fact, the first one was caught in 1898 in Japan, but after then, sightings remained rare. The ocean is a big place, and with limited deep-sea exploration, many believed it to be extinct. But as technology improved, so did our ability to peek into the abyss. And as increasingly sophisticated deep-sea explorations began, so did the sightings of the elusive goblin sharks and our understanding of these prehistoric creatures. Today, we know these sharks use their electrosensitive snouts to detect prey in the dark. They hunt with a slingshot-like jaw, shooting it forward to snatch up fish, squid, and crustaceans. You can think of it as a specialized tool for surviving where food is scarce. Despite its scary appearance, the goblin shark is harmless to humans, and we still have so much to learn about them. But one thing remains true. In an ocean full of secrets, the goblin shark's rediscovery is a potent reminder of what we have yet to uncover and the importance of continued exploration. In more ways than one, the Black-Browed Babbler is the unicorn of the avian world, a songbird from southeast Borneo that could easily be the poster child for vanishing acts. This bird was missing for 172 years, turning itself into one of the greatest enigmas in Indonesian ornithology. But how? To truly understand this bird's tale, we have to go all the way back to the 1840s, when a German naturalist named Carl A.L.M. Schwanner collected a single specimen. This lone bird, described by French ornithologist Charles-Lucien Bonaparte in 1850, became the only evidence of the species' existence for over a century. To everyone, the Black-Browed Babbler seemingly disappeared, but here's the thing, it didn't just disappear, it became unfindable. And that was because even the location of the original finding was unclear, with some believing it was Java. Fast forward to 2020, more than 150 years later, and we finally got through to two local Indonesian men. Muhammad Suranto and Muhammad Rizky Fauzan were simply gathering forest products when they stumbled upon a bird they didn't recognize, snapped a few photos and released it. These photos made their way to birdwatching groups who suspected it could be the missing babbler. And soon enough, bringing a smile to bird lovers worldwide, experts confirmed their suspicions. So where was this bird all along? It turns out the babbler had been hiding in the lowland forests of southeast Borneo. They move quietly and discreetly, which may be why they remained hidden for so long. Now, the rediscovery of these birds wasn't just a win for birdwatchers, it was a crucial reminder of the biodiversity crisis. It shined a light on the importance of preserving the Black-Browed Babbler's habitat. But that wasn't all, because the rediscovery also helped to clarify that the species came from southeastern Borneo and opened up a world of studies. Recent studies show that the color of the original specimen from 1805 actually differed from the real bird, especially the bill and eye color, likely due to taxidermy. So the Black-Browed Babbler's story isn't just about rediscovery, it's a call to action, reminding us of the importance of local communities, birdwatchers, and scientists working together to protect these fragile ecosystems. In the 1600s, Spanish sailors were spooked by eerie wails echoing through the Bermuda night. Now you have to understand that for decades, Bermuda has been known as the final tragic resting place for countless ships. So you can just imagine the fear of sailing across at night and hearing the cries of a ghost bell that seemingly foretold your doom. Little did these sailors know that these ghostly sounds were not the work of haunted ships, but rather came from the Bermuda Petrel, or cahao, a seabird native to Bermuda. After a while though, something peculiar happened as suddenly these cries soon faded, as settlers turned the cahao from a source of spooky sounds into a meal. To make matters worse, combined with introduced predators like rats, cats, and pigs, the cahao was presumed extinct by the 1620s. It was so bad that for 3 centuries, the Bermuda was silent. It was assumed the birds no longer existed. But luckily, in 1951, a tiny glimmer of hope emerged when a handful of these birds, less than 20, were found clinging onto life on small rocky islets. But how did they manage to bounce back from the brink after 300 years of disappearance? Well, that's where the heroes of our story come in, people like David Wingate, who dedicated his life to restoring the cahao population. Wingate started an effort to restore the native ecosystem on Nonsuch Island. The effort included predator control, as rats were eliminated and tropic birds were denied entrance to prime breeding locations through the installation of precisely designed baffles that allowed petrels to enter. Later, Jeremy Medeiros oversaw restoration efforts, including physically moving young Bermuda Petrel chicks into nesting holes on the restored ecosystem of Nonsuch Island. These chicks were moved just before fledging to the vulnerable islets to artificial burrows on Nonsuch Island. In the end, today, thanks to tireless conservation efforts, over 100 nesting pairs exist. Known scientifically as the Boramis parvus, the mountain pygmy possum is not just any small mammal. It defied the odds. How, you ask? Well, it all has to do with the fact that it was once thought to be extinct for nearly a century. That was until it was rediscovered in 1966 at a ski resort in Victoria. See, up until then, fossils dating back to 1895 were the only things we had that hinted at its existence. But it wasn't until that fateful day that scientists realised this adorable little possum was still roaming the rugged alpine regions of southern Australia. This was a creature no bigger than your average mouse, weighing in at just 45 grams, about the weight of a small apple, with a prehensile tail longer than its body, expertly navigating through dense boulder fields and rock screes. These nocturnal critters have a diet that's as diverse as their habitat. They feast on insects like the bogong moth, fruits, nuts, and seeds. But here's where it gets really interesting. They are actually the only Australian mammals known to hibernate for up to 7 months. Yep, as the temperatures drop in their alpine home, these little warriors curl up and enter a state of torpor, conserving energy until spring returns. Sadly, even after its rediscovery, the mountain pygmy possum faces serious threats today, as climate change, habitat loss due to ski resorts, and predation from introduced species like foxes and cats have put immense pressure on their populations. With fewer than 2,000 individuals left in the wild, conservation efforts are more critical than ever. As we speak, innovative projects are underway to restore their habitats and even introduce genetic diversity through carefully managed breeding programs. But why does this tiny possum matter so much? The answer lies in what it symbolises. See, this little guy symbolises resilience and the delicate balance of our ecosystems. The mountain pygmy possum is not just surviving, it's thriving in the face of adversity. And as we continue to learn about their habits and habitats, we must remember that every creature has a role in our world, no matter how small. And sadly, only time will tell if we can make sure these little guys keep playing their roles. And there you have it, 10 incredible animals that defied extinction and made a jaw-dropping comeback. But it raises a chilling question. How many more so-called extinct creatures are still out there, lurking in the depths of the ocean, hiding in untouched jungles, waiting to be rediscovered? Which of these comeback stories blew your mind the most? And do you think we'll ever stumble across something even wilder, maybe even a real-life dinosaur? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're still wrapping your head around nature's biggest plot twists, smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing stories from the edge of science. Until next time, bye.